looks like another Tesla killer has been acquitted of all charges. This time it's Jaguar. So we are going from brands that almost no one has ever heard of, but they were called Tesla killers anyway, to brands that everyone pretty much is familiar with. Jaguar is going belly up. I think this was posted on Facebook. It is from an email I received from a Jaguar dealer regarding my order. I've got some news for you that I'm sure will disappoint, so my apologies. The reason Jaguar did not convert your order is because they are shutting down production of all models by June. I'm sure you had heard that their plan was to go ultra luxury with an all-new, all-electric lineup in 2025, which currently is now postponed until 2026. New reports suggest that JLR is working towards splitting the brands, and it appears that their parent company, Tata Motors, is in the process of spinning Jaguar off to sell it as a separate business unit. My guess is they will find a Chinese backer looking to enter the market with some brand recognition. Their plan is for low production in the future that doesn't fully support the existing dealer network. They have been actively pursuing dealers to turn back their Jaguar franchises, as they will only be producing around 9,000 vehicles annually. They have gone from 187 dealers in 2022 to 141 dealers currently, and are looking to have only 90 in total. With 90 dealers and 9,000 cars, that's only 100 cars per dealer per year, so 8 cars per month. It's simply not a sustainable business model, and since we are a standalone Jaguar dealership, not a dual Jaguar-Land Rover dealership, they are leaving us no choice but to turn back the franchise, which we will do on March 29th, ceasing Jaguar operations. We are now seeing in front of our eyes companies really struggling with the transition to EVs and trying to pivot, but not really successfully, winding down their operation in the hopes that maybe they can still survive. Elon Musk just dropped Tesla stock news, and to me, it's an important story. This is a big release, should arguably be called V13. Elon was talking about this newest FSD update, which is V12.3. I haven't tried V12 myself yet, so now I'm even more eager to try it. Interestingly though, there's no new note attached to the release. I am strongly convinced that eventually Tesla will solve full self-driving, and that will generate a lot of cash flow for Tesla. I think it will be apparent that FSD is sort of around the corner when Tesla starts showing us intervention data and how many disengagements there are. Let's say for every 100 miles driven or 1,000 miles driven. We know that Tesla tracks this data because Walter Isaacson wrote about that in Elon's biography. So I certainly would understand the point of view that would state that, yeah, Tesla is not making much progress until that data is revealed. But I say, the moment it's released and the moment people realize FSD is around the corner, it's probably going to be too late to own Tesla stock, because by then everyone will have realized it and everyone will have jumped back into the stock. I know some Tesla stock investors, even those that are strongly convinced that in the long term, FSD will pay off in a major way, even those people trade Tesla stock, some of them, and I will feel bad for them if they miss the perfect timing to get back into the stock, which is almost a certainty for most of them. A few, though, will get lucky and they will jump back in exactly at the perfect time, but I will not be jealous of that, just like I'm never jealous of anyone who buys a lottery ticket and then wins, because I know the odds are way against you. Look, you can cross a street with your eyes closed and probably, actually, most likely, you will be fine. But if you do it enough times, you're gonna be dead. And me being out of Tesla stock would severely increase my chances of missing out on the next big run, and I don't want to take that risk. Good Tesla stock news continues today. Yesterday, it seemed likely that the power would be restored to Giga Berlin, and now we have final confirmation that yes, indeed, it did happen yesterday. I think AJ was the first one, or if not the first, one of the first ones to break it on X. He even beat Sawyer. which is difficult. A big shout out goes to every single worker who participated in restoring the power to Giga Berlin, because these workers were doing free shift rotations. They were working on it 24/7. That's some serious dedication. Here's another pretty big story. Elon Musk will reportedly visit Giga Berlin this week. He could meet Brandenburg State Premier, which is where Giga Berlin is actually located. It's not inside of Giga Berlin, it's next to Giga Berlin, and this is the name of the area where Giga Berlin is. Elon could also meet the state's economy minister. I think behind the scenes, Elon probably made a few calls to high-level officials asking if they can speed up the restoration of the power. And that was probably one reason why the power was restored so much quicker than initially estimated. I am genuinely surprised how fast this whole thing got fixed. Because as I reported yesterday, things like this take weeks to fix. Tesla has launched a program that will let people take early delivery of a Foundation Series Cybertruck if they were a Tesla shareholder on February 28th, 2021 and owned at least 500 Tesla shares on February 29th of this year. However, there's one caveat. The Cybertruck reservation must have been made prior to March 1st. So if you are a Tesla shareholder, but you haven't made your reservation yet, but now you think maybe you want to get one, yeah, you're not getting it sooner. Here are the instructions if you want to take advantage of this. I actually do like what Tesla is doing here, and that's because the first Cybertrucks are more likely to have some issues, and if you are a long-term Tesla stock shareholder, you understand that, and therefore you won't go on TikTok showing everyone how terrible Tesla is because Elon bad. I think we can get picky about Tesla's build quality after Tesla delivers tens of thousands of Cybertrucks, although from some of the reviews I watched, seems like the build quality is actually pretty good. Not everyone is as lucky though. Bradford says that V12 has nearly perfected roundabouts. Tesla self-driving V12 has fixed nearly every issue in my neck of the woods, Carmel, Indiana. I am super excited to share the videos ASAP. And he says that out of 50 roundabouts, Tesla self-driving V12 handled 48 of them fine. One required an accelerator press and one was a critical disengagement. 96% pass rate, strong A grade. Now 90% were flawless. Of the 6% flawed, the car slowed down too much in my opinion, says Bradford. China reported 13,000 Tesla insurance registrations for the week of March 4th to 10th. The quarter is minus 24.7% quarter over quarter, and year to date is at 2.5% year over year. Roland adds that the actual number is 13.2 thousand, and Tesla is doing better this week than Germany's brands. James says that China sales continue to be quite soft this quarter. He thinks that 440,000 for the quarter is a stretch goal, and we are looking at 430,000. Tesla is now offering a lithium iron phosphate pack retrofit to some Model 3 owners requiring a battery replacement under warranty. This option is now available for those vehicles that were initially equipped with the 2170 cell batteries. Finally, Tesla is rolling out matrix satellite support and software update in Europe. It also adds a new one-time charge limit feature, which I really like. This option appears when you increase the car's charge limit above the daily driving recommendation. So for example, you want to go on a road trip and you want the Tesla vehicle to charge to 100% that one single time only. You set it to that one-time setting, you go on a road trip, you park your vehicle someplace later, and it goes back to the normal setting. Maybe if Tesla could change the one-time exception to, let's say, for how many days you want to do that. Because if I go on a road trip, let's say for 2 days, 3 days, every day I want to charge to 100%. But after I'm back, I don't want to charge to 100%. So I like this new change, but they could also make it even better. Wes from Tesla commented on Tesla enforcing the no resale clause. He says, "We build vehicles for people who love and enjoy them, not to flip for profit without adding any value. This shouldn't need to be said or enforced." I think that's fine to do when the vehicle is new. Later on, once the vehicle does not really have a waiting list, I don't really think that's okay to do though. And once the waiting line disappears, I expect Tesla to remove that resale clause. The year is 2032. Tesla's still selling Foundation Series Cybertrucks. They don't look quite as futuristic as when it launched in 2024. Seriously though, how long will this last? For how long will Tesla keep selling these Foundation Series Cybertrucks? James is guessing maybe it's going to be the first 5,000. Of course, it is great for shareholders, so James is not complaining here. Morgan Stanley's Adam Jonas has released a new Tesla stock note. Tesla and Bitcoin have been long seen as a barometer for investor risk appetite. Since this past September, however, the historically positive correlation between Tesla's share price and Bitcoin has broken down. So what is going on? Bitcoin just reached another all-time high. Adam Jonas says this has to do with Tesla's negative revisions, investors really beginning to avoid EV-exposed names from late last year. Also, Tesla shares used to fund more active momentum AI plays, and Tesla right now, it's a bit like a hibernating bear, which, you know, will wake up, but when exactly? That remains to be seen. However, Morgan Stanley expects to see earnings revisions trough in mid-year before investors contemplate the potential of a new model cycle and Tesla's optionality to the broader AI theme. Morgan Stanley remains very bullish on Tesla stock. Here's Tesla stock, and Bitcoin specifically is in blue, and you can see that these two had very high correlation, but not anymore. Now, if you own a lot of Tesla stock and you want to be a little bit diversified, I would say own S&P 500. If you really want to own Bitcoin, maybe throw a little bit of it in there. I personally, though, I don't own any Bitcoin at this moment. And if you have been a subscriber for a while now, you'll remember that I talked about Bitcoin somewhere closer to the end of 2022. And I said, if it drops about 80%, I will become highly interested, but it never did drop that much. So my thesis was generally right, but my timing was not perfect. Anyway, I personally would rather own Tesla stock than Bitcoin because Bitcoin does not provide any earnings. Tesla stock eventually, I strongly believe, will pay dividends. Bitcoin, I don't think it will ever pay dividends. Gary Black just made a comment about Tesla's most recent lawsuit. A third Tesla Autopilot case goes to trial next week in San Jose, California. The new case involves a fatal March 2018 crash of the Tesla Model X driven by Apple engineer Walter Wang, who was reportedly playing a video game just prior to the crash. That's silly. Don't do that. Seriously, don't do that. In two prior Autopilot jury trials, Tesla was found not liable by arguing that drivers involved had not heeded its instructions to maintain attention while using the Autopilot system. And he was an engineer, so he should have known better. Plaintiff attorneys in this case will present testimony from Tesla witnesses indicating that before the accident, the automaker never studied how quickly and effectively drivers could take control if Autopilot accidentally steers towards an obstacle. But if you got your hands on the wheel and you are paying attention, it takes no time to, oh, it's turning where it shouldn't be turning, so you just don't let it turn. There's no time needed to react if you are paying attention, but your hands have to be on the steering wheel. Tesla will argue the Autopilot system can steer, accelerate, and brake by itself on open roadways, but can't replace a human driver, especially in city driving. Tesla Materials explaining the system warned that it doesn't make the car autonomous and requires a fully attentive driver who can take over at any moment. By the way, I strongly disagree with comments like this. Gary sold his shares, now he's going to bash the company relentlessly to try and buy them back lower. Straight from the Gerber playbook, weak and spineless. Gary Black still owns some Tesla stock. It's not as much as before, but he still owns it. And as a fund manager, his incentive is to have good short-term performance, and then if long-term performance can follow, that would be great too, but short-term performance is more important. It's how many fund managers think. I'm not sure if Gary admitted to that. Maybe he has a different strategy, but that's my general take on fund managers. Troy is not completely certain about the Model 3 production ramp in Fremont right now because he does not have enough data. Probably he will collect a few win numbers very soon, and we should hear more from him about how is the production going over there. If you have taken a delivery of the refresh Model 3 in the US, you can help him out by leaving your VIN number. AJ just shared some pretty interesting research. This analysis shows that pure BEV makers with in-house vehicle manufacturing are deeply loss-making. The only exception is, of course, Tesla. In other words, no EV startup has figured out how to make money from EVs. Yet eventually someone will figure it out, but not yet. Except for Tesla, only EV makers attached to bigger non-pure BEV makers have reported profitability. While auto gross margin, of course, is important in the end, the thing that counts the most is how much do you keep after spending on everything else. You can have a positive gross margin, but you can still be losing money. More celebrities are getting Cybertrucks. This is Travis Scott pulling up in his Cybertruck. It's like free advertising. It is now officially official. Malaysia finally delivered its first Model Y today. Porsche has just unveiled the new Taycan Turbo GT, which is the most powerful series production Porsche of all time. It is pretty expensive though, $232,000, over 1,000 horsepower and 0 to 60 in as low as 2.1 seconds. And it does one Nürburgring lap time in 7 minutes 7 seconds, which is 18 seconds faster than the Model S Plaid. Yeah, but the Plaid does not even cost $100,000. However, the Model S Plaid has a little bit more range. So if you remove some of the batteries from the Plaid and make the range exactly the same, would the Plaid still be behind the Porsche? I don't know. Also, the Model S Plaid does have a lot more cargo capacity. Ford is losing millions per day due to a strike in Germany where it's retiring the Focus. Uncertainty around the plan's future sparked after Ford decided to build its next generation EVs in Spain rather than in Germany. We know that Tesla possibly looked into Spain, and I'm going to be interested in how well it goes for Ford in Spain, because maybe Tesla is going to build a factory over there eventually. Anyway, without digging into the story too much, it is interesting that Ford does not want to continue production over there, and yet people are striking. You're not gonna keep Ford by making things worse for Ford. James says Toyota is a cancer. That's a pretty strong statement. Is it really that bad? What did Toyota do this time? As the car market moves steadily toward all-electric, Toyota has been lobbying governments for at least 3 years to slow that transition, according to an analysis of the company's engagement activities by Influence Map, the climate think tank. Toyota has done so in the US, Canada, UK, and Australia, among others, the analysis found. In a 2022 report, Influence Map ranked Toyota as the 10th most influential company blocking climate policy action globally out of more than 400 companies in its database. Toyota, other automakers, and an auto trade association pushed back hard on the EPA's proposed tailpipe rule. The Biden administration is now considering delaying the stringent requirements that were set to start in 2027 until after 2030. And here are, I think, the top 10 companies. You can see many oil companies on this list. And there's Gazprom, which is a Russian oil and gas company. So they supposedly are doing just a little bit worse compared to Toyota. Now, I believe we don't need any strict regulations to transition to EVs. I think it will happen naturally. As a Tesla stock investor, I don't mind the regulations selfishly because that benefits Tesla, but I have principles and I don't think we need any extra regulations. However, when companies actively lobby to stop something, maybe that's where it's a little bit more fair to fight back with some regulations to counteract that lobbying effort. To me, this is major news, and this proves that Elon is incredibly different from how OpenAI tried to portray Elon. OpenAI had this response to Elon Musk's lawsuit, basically accusing that Elon is a complete hypocrite and that he was all for OpenAI being for profit and closed source. I'm oversimplifying here. Read the whole thing if you haven't yet, by the way. But Elon now says that this week, xAI will open source Grok. OpenAI, if you are listening to this, please go ahead and open source ChatGPT 4. I really don't think that OpenAI is going to win this fight from a moral point of view. A big shout out goes to Elon Musk, the MVP of the earth, the person who's leading the free speech movement with X. I mean, if Elon did not own X, I don't think we would be able to speak as freely today as we can. If you disagree with the government. If you always agreed with the government, of course, you will say, oh, there was no issue, no problem. But if you disagree, you're going to have issues. And I know. I own a clinic. There are some things I just cannot say. I would love to go into some of these things, and later, maybe I will. But for now, I'll just say I'm very happy with Elon running X. Fund manager Gene Munster says, many will see this as a swing at OpenAI. I see it as evidence that xAI is rapidly progressing and is the hottest private company. Musk reports that xAI has not and is not raising money, but I believe that will soon change because speed and deep pockets are paramount in the AI race. When it does, he's going to raise boatloads of money fast. And if I could maybe put a little bit of money in that, I would be happy, but I know there's a limited number of shareholders in a private company, and probably Elon is going to be able to raise many more millions of dollars than however much money I could give him, so it wouldn't make sense to accept any money from relatively small shareholders like me. Probably, unless you can provide tens of millions of dollars, he's not going to be interested. Gary Blatt just gave another Tesla stock update. Let's be real. Tesla stock is now trading at 44 times forward earnings per share, its lowest PE since the first half of 2023, during which the median was 58 times. We and others have been talking about Q1 Wall Street deliveries estimates being too high for 2 weeks now, so the buy side consensus could already be discounting a 425 to 440,000 delivery result this quarter. The San Jose trial next week could cause some uncertainty, but in the end, we believe this jury will side with Tesla's view that Tesla has warned drivers using autopilot to stay fully engaged and be ready to take control at any time. I agree with Gary there. We are encouraged that Tesla is now experimenting with digital advertising to convince ICE owners to go EV by emphasizing overall lower cost and charging convenience. Finally, we like that Tesla management has so far resisted the urge to cut price going into the quarter end, which shows some much needed discipline, says Gary Black. In other words, it sounds to me like he's telling us to buy Tesla stock, which also could mean that he's perhaps getting more comfortable with the idea of buying back some Tesla stock soon. I'm not sure, but if you take his word as it is, that's what I would think. Although keep in mind that he was responding to a very negative post from someone here. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in tomorrow's episode. Thank you so much for watching.